Hello there, and welcome to another Friday night. I noticed Mark Weaver. He must be the sharpest guy on the gun. He presses that button and he's on. Most times he's the first in there. Richard Francis, John Count, Badger Bill, John Hopton. Yeah, we got a few on there, so we can start talking about fishing yet again. And what a night! What a horrible night! And yet, I was saying to the wife as I sort of came across, um, as I came across the garden to the tattle den, I thought, many's the time I've been out in a lot worse than this, a lot worse, in a bivvy, especially pike. I remember, one particular session there with Nigel Williams out on Lake Windermere. I think it was -6 that night, and yet, some of the best nights I've had out, not necessarily to catch fish, but some of the best nights have been under a bivvy, with a mate next door, or even in the same bivvy for a few hours before you get into the sack. Had some great nights, and it really is nice, especially when you can hear the wind around the bivvy and even snow or whatever. That you'll know what I'm on about. If I was talking to the general public, they think I was going off my rocker, but actually, that's what we love, isn't it? Just being out in nature, and sometimes being in that environment at night really is a special moment. But anyway, this week it's been a very active week for me. First of all, I was down at it's a typical Des Taylor week, I think, just doing this, that, and the other. And certainly the first part of the week, I went to the Winter Carp Show, and that was super. I had a questions and answers, and sort of there were some lovely questions about fishing, about all-round fishing, about personal questions about where I'd started and when and whatever, and it was lovely. And one guy came up to me and he said, that was an inspiring talk for me to go fishing, which is my job, to inspire people. And certainly it was lovely. And as I walked around, it really was nice that so many people were coming up. I had one guy had a bit of a go at me about certain things, but the rest of the people were absolutely super, and made me feel really good. And when I went out on the night, and we had an Italian with Lee Harrison and James Robbins, I was already in a fantastic mood, but the meal and good company, it was even better. It was absolutely fantastic. I see Mohammed Uzzi has just come on there, and if there's a photo on there, we'd arranged. Mohammed and his lovely wife Sue was coming over to Bridgnorth area, and they said they were going to have a breakfast at the pool hall. Cap, and we said, well, we'll come on over. And I mentioned it to Paul, and Paul come over as well. And as usual, Mohammed was so giving. He gave us some lovely drink for Christmas, but also gave us some lovely prizes for the show. We there's one book worth about 300-400, maybe even £500. There's one book worth about £700. I won't mention what they are yet, and we'll probably not do anything till after Christmas. We haven't decided what we're going to do. We're going to talk to Mohammed. We're going to talk to various people, and we're going to see what we can do. Because what I'd like to do is, with so much money, is perhaps a charity or help somebody or whatever. I don't know. If you can send some suggestions to my. We've got these two books. Well, I might as well tell you the books. One's Pike, number 116, Pike by Fred Buller, and the other one is Isaac Walton, a really old, an old edition of this, and that worth it can be £300 or £400. And I just don't want to give it for one single fish or a photo or whatever. I want to see if we can raise as much money as possible, and then see what we can do with it. And anybody got any ideas? We haven't. John Poole just said raffle them. Yeah, I mean, we haven't decided yet what to do with them. But what we would want to do is want to raise as much money as possible and give somebody to the needy. We haven't. Mark Weaver, True Gentleman, Mohammed. Ah, man. Is he just absolutely beautiful man? A beautiful man. I can only say that's the word, beautiful man. And so, any suggestions, send them on email to me, Des Taylor, angling888 at gmail.com. Send me some suggestions and we'll see what we can do. I'm not going to do anything till I think that's a good idea and that's going to make us the most money. Not us the most money, but to a charity or whatever. I don't know. We've got to think about it. It's too much money to just waste on somebody catches a big pike and they give them the pike book and somebody goes fishing and give them the book. It's worth more than that. And then, of course, I had a phone call from Steve Greenway last week and said he was catching some lovely perch. I mean, in a couple of days he had 3 over £3 up to 3.9, and as anyone will tell you, it don't take me long to put my gear in the car, and I was off and fishing with Steve. I have a few sessions more than a few sessions with Steve through the winter every year. Have done for the last few years, and over I went, and we had a delightful day with some lovely perch, and with the water going to be clearer, and the fish were in tremendous. I don't know why, when you consider that this lake has been sort of 6-7 foot down, and sort of I don't know, a third of its size, certainly half its size all summer. You would have thought that the fish would have suffered a little bit, but the fish are in tremendous. We caught a couple of pike that were absolutely fabulous condition, and the perch, they were in well, you can see absolutely, absolutely fabulous condition, and we had a great day, absolutely super day, one of the best of the season. The perch fishing was better than the Wolves result, was it, Ekmark? Yeah, it was. I feel sorry for Steve. He's been a supporter. I think he's been a season ticket holder for about 40 years, and he's seen them all, get out to the 4th division before, and this is got to be one of the worst, if not the worst, start that the Wolves have ever had. And poor old Steve's struggling with that, but he's catching some lovely fish. And thanks for the invite, Steve. It was super, and a magical week, another magical week. The nice thing about it is, of course, with it being so cold, and it's near Christmas. On the way back, you pop in a pub and there's a fire on and the Christmas trimmings are up. It's great. Steve Greenway comes on there. More wonderful memories made it. Some more wonderful memories with you, Steve. Yeah, exactly. And we've got plenty to come, that's for sure. So, right, let's move on. I've swapped around the things that I'm doing in the formation, because two things. One, I'm trying to run one of the videos, and I've noticed that when we're having jumpy problems, once I played a video, it seems to straighten it out. And plus the fact, my mate, his wife, is always taking the mickey out of him, that she's listening to this, and she said, "Oh, it's angling time next. It's the YouTube. Oh, it's this nature trail." So John, I won't mention his name, has said to me, "Can you change it round so my missus gets it wrong?" So I have changed it round. So instead of angling times, we're going to get the Phil Lane video next. So Phil talks about zigs, and it looks as though I'm not having any moans and groans today about the jumping. What I am having, I'm having a computer bloke come Monday, and we're going to see if we can sort this out once and for all. I think it's a problem on my OBS delivery onto the Facebook. We're going to try and sort it out. That's for sure. So let's go down to Phil Lane and see what he's got to say about zigs.
Evening, folks. Welcome back to Bite Light headquarters, and we're going to take another little look at zigs again tonight. I mean, I know the weather's now gone a fair bit colder, and we've been getting a lot of questions about zigs in the winter. Now, I know we looked at how we put the zig together a couple of weeks ago, but this is the one that we tied from a catfish hook, just so it's nice and easy to see. But as you can see, the rules are always consistent. A choddy style hook, which this is, that just means with an outward facing eye. And then it's a hair egg with a piece of silicone in there. Obviously you go a little bit smaller, But even in genuine size, we're looking about that. That's a size 8 hook. But you can see that will just, so long as that point is going downwards, we're in good shape with a zig. Now, for winter, there's two main decisions you're going to make, is whether you use bait or whether you don't use bait. For me, I'll always try a bit of bait in the day, especially if there's any sign of sort of fish moving around. If I can collate the fish around my spot, more the better, until it goes very, very cold. I mean, if it's minus numbers, then bare zigs come into it. But where do we start them off? Everybody I know seems to sort of say, start between 1/2 and 3/4 depth. That's tends to be, if you're guessing where you're going to find them in the winter. So I've always done pretty much the same thing. Sometimes a very short zig will do the job, especially if they're feeding over bait. That can be massively effective, maybe a 1 foot zig, 1.5 foot, something like that. But the majority of zigs that I'm going to be fishing in big carp waters are probably going to be 6 to 12 feet as a general rule. And all those sizes are perfectly acceptable for casting out from the bank. You can just lay the zig out next to you and it will follow the lead. Trust me, it won't be catching you in the back of the head when you cast. I use black foam, I use red foam. Red, sometimes if I'm spomming out maggots or worms even. Black is my go-to. I never really see any reason to detour from them. In the winter, exactly the same. If you're going to use bait, consistently get it out there. Keep bait in the area the whole time. The beauty with a zig is you can't really overbait because you're fishing up in the mid-water. Any overbaiting will be on the bottom. And really, with a zig, you're looking for the very first bite from the fish. You're not waiting for it to feed on what you're putting in. That's purely to attract them to the area. You just want them to take your zig, very much like a pop-up. Personally, I don't often use an adjustable unless it's very, very deep. If I do, I'm going to use the largest float that I can get away with, because then I can tighten down better onto the zig, the same as I would do if I wasn't using an adjustable float. Because then when the fish takes, the lead jumps and it will hook in the bottom lip 99 times out of 100. Always use a large lead. Never really under 3.5 ounces. I use 4s and 5s. I really want to pin it down there. I really want to get it tight, and I'm looking for a drop back bite 9 times out of 10. Always clip up for casting, or if you're not going to clip up, stop it hard with your finger, because you need that casting action at the end for your long zig to straighten up and land in the water. That's the time, the only real time you'll get a tangle in a zig is if you don't hit that clip good and firm. Always look for little bites as well. Sometimes it will just be a vibration, especially in the winter. They take the zig, they just, almost you see your bobbin just vibrate. It's always worth just lifting the rod tip up, just looking for, see if you've got a bit of tension, a bit of nodding like that. It can be as much as that. It's very rare on a zig that you're going to get it steaming away. And finally, always make sure you've got a long handle net. I've been there, having to shout somebody in the next peg. Obviously you don't need it so much if you've got a mate with you, but if you're going to fish on your own, a very effective method. When it goes right, even in the middle of winter, you could find yourself catching 6, 7, 8 fish a day. I mean, we tend to fish for a bite or two in the winter, but I'm sure we'll always take 6 or 7 fish. But having the right equipment there, a nice long net, and you'll be in good shape. Just keep changing the depths. I appreciate there's 2 main ways of fishing it. You're either going to maybe have one zig rod out whilst you're fishing the bottom, or whilst you've got something else out, or go for all three, go for two rods, whatever it is you can fish, keep adjusting it. Have confidence in this method. A lot of people are using it at this time of year, but sometimes even an adjustment of 3 or 6 inches can be important. So carry some of these with you, have different lengths on, mark it on the spool what those lengths are, and then you can quickly chop and change. It's obviously it's always easy to cut a few inches off. It's very difficult to add it on, but if you've got a few sat there ready to go, you can just unclip them and give it another try. Give it an hour or two. If you're having no joy, maybe 6 inches more, 6 inches less. But very, very effective method. There's nothing wrong at all with just going to a venue while you're thinking about what you're going to do. Put a couple of long zigs out. Until you've made your decision. You don't have to put them out with bait, and I tell you what, you'd be surprised at how often one of them will go.
Yeah, another great video from Phil. Aren't we lucky, really, when you think of the people that it's just members, and we got some great videos. Ambrose, Luke, Nature Trail with Paul, now Phil. We really have got a good set of guys together, which is really, really good. Remember, these people are not, they're earning nothing from actually doing that. They're not paid for being on here. Where they're doing it. Okay, they have got business, and hopefully that does get them a bit of business, or a lot of business, I hope. But I'm really, really proud to say we got so many good people to do these videos, etc. Okay. So thanks, Phil, for another one. As soon as you're ready with another one, the space is there for you, mate. The space is there for you. No problem. Let's go to the Angling Times. This week, it's not so much the fish that I'm going to mention, but although, there's a record barbel that's in there. There's a massive roach for one, the biggest of the year, and a 3-pound grayling. Can I just say that, don't get the impression the specialist anglers and the specimen hunters will know this, but the average angler out there, that perhaps doesn't fish for big fish all the time. These are very, very rare fish, and when a venue comes along, anglers are on it straight away. People travel to these fish, these King's Weir fish are being caught almost every month, and it can quite easily get, I'm not knocking that, but quite easily there's a number of big fish there, and specimen hunters get down there, barbel hunters get down there, and they're catching this fish. Now, don't get the impression that 18, 19, 20-pound fish are everywhere. They're being caught on a regular basis. There are very few venues produce this, and that's one of them, King's Weir. The roach, although the chap says that this wasn't caught at Brasenose, obviously it wasn't, but it was a southern gravel pit that produced a 4-pound roach. Again, it's so easy that, the same roach that comes out from these venues half a dozen times through the winter or whatever, it's quite easy for pleasure anglers to think, crikey, I'm going to have a go for these big roach, because there's a lot of 4-pound roach coming out, and they don't realise that they might be the same roach, or they're certainly from the same venue. It's the same with grayling. If you notice now, there's a lot of 3-pound grayling and a lot of 3.5-pound grayling coming out. No, there isn't. What there is a lot of people heading up to Scotland to catch the same fish on the same venue. So, which is no problem at all. Go and catch them. But don't get carried away when you see articles, how to catch a 20-pound barbel, how to catch a 4-pound roach, how to catch a 3-pound grayling. You can have the methods of these guys, but unless you got the venue to catch them, you won't catch them. Okay? So, don't get carried away. Or it's not being carried away. The thing I'm trying to say is, don't get disappointed because your biggest roach you can catch is 112, 110, 1.8 when you're specimen fishing, because that is a good roach on most venues. A 1-pound grayling, 1.5, 110, fantastic grayling. Barbel, 10, 11, fantastic barbel. So, these lads can say, if you put a meat with a touch of, with a matchstick on this end and a pound coin on the other end, it'll catch a 20-pound barbel. No, it won't. The method is almost irrelevant. What you need what you need is the venue. And believe me, venues produce these sort of fish are very, 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 very rare indeed. So just remember that. Don't get disappointed when you're not catching such fish. Okay? And right, let's go to, I need to mention this because there seems to be a bit of confusion in that people think that my show, like tonight's show, is going on YouTube straight from the start, being produced on YouTube, and where do you see it? Let's get one thing straight. What is going to happen is my show, like tonight, is on this as normal. It will be on as normal, and then as soon as we finish this, it will be put onto YouTube. So, because Facebook have started now, they don't keep them forever. You used to be able to watch these forever. What they are is on about 21 days, and then they took off. So you've lost the show completely. So the likes of, when I've had Lawrence Breakspear or James Robbins or Ian Potts or whatever, they're lost. They're lost to history. They're lost forever. But now, once they're on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, they're there forever until we take them off. So that's what we're going to do. It's on the show as normal, but then on that evening, as soon as it's done, over to YouTube. So if you want to watch it in future, if you want to watch it in a year's time, or you want to watch it tomorrow night, you've got to go on that YouTube channel. So just remember that you need to go onto that channel, right? Des Taylor Angling World. Go on to that and subscribe. And once you've subscribed, it's game on, and you're on there, and you'll be told when new things are going on. And we've opened it. It's very, very few things on at the moment, but you will see, just like this has expanded to the group it is now, the YouTube channel, I promise you, will be very, very, very special. So I hope that's straight in your mind now. Okay. Let's go to the nature trail. The nature trail from Paul. Superb again. The snow bunting. Paul, the first snow bunting I ever saw was in Norway, and they call them snow mice, the snow mouse. And beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little bird. I'm hearing reports, this is obviously Paul talking, I'm hearing reports this week of snow buntings have been seen in the Midlands. This large bunting gets its name from its summer plumage, where the males have all white heads and the underparts contrasted by black wing tips. However, in the winter they take on an altogether different appearance, as we see above with this pair on the Long Mead. We have a small population breeding pairs in Scotland, and the birds popping up around the country now are formed from those migrating here from the continent. And then we've got the second one, which is foxes in winter, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing some videos in the very near future from Paul. He's got his special camera, his nature camera, and he's taking some, at this moment in time, he's taking some lovely videos. So we look forward to seeing those in the near future. December marks the start of a very active time for foxes as the breeding season starts. Foxes will now be in their thick winter coats and will begin travelling large areas in search of mates. Dog foxes in particular will mark territories with their pungent urine, which you will smell as you pass near it. The fox will now have increased vocalism, which is often heard at night, letting out a series of loud barks and screams to tell vixens they are here, as well as warning other dog foxes of a taken territory. More on this over the coming weeks. I look forward to it. I look forward to it, mate. Look forward to seeing the films about the foxes and deers and whatever comes onto the cam. I'm sure it's going to be super. Paul's just come on. Yes. He said, yes, Des, I'm prepping some videos. Can't wait to bring it all together. That sounds absolutely super, doesn't it? Okay. Now we've got the contest, or the prize for the John Wilson book. And just remember, don't come on here, don't comment on here the answer. The only answers that will be received are the one, or accepted will be the ones sent to my email, and don't do any spoilers on here now. And the question is, what's the name of John's brother? He lived in Thailand. He was over in Thailand with John. So answer this question correctly and win a John Wilson book. What was the name of John's brother? Answers only to Des Taylor Angling 888 at gmail.com. So I look forward to reading your. I don't announce it till later because I don't look at the emails till after the show or tomorrow morning. Anyone who's won it before, don't bother entering because you won't win it again, that's for sure. But there you go. And now my tip, fairly easy tip, and it's just about the perch fishing really, and what I've done this week, and what I've done over the years, and some of the tips that I've got, and some of the best days at this time of year. You know, people say real bright sunny day when it's hard fishing. You know, why would you fish? Let me tell you now, when it's that bright and that hard fishing, and they're not feeding through the day, there will be a little tiny window towards the afternoon or even just before dark. It might literally be 10 minutes. It might be an hour if you're lucky. And that's what you're looking for. And it concentrates the fish in that feeding. When it's dull all over, you can catch them in the morning, you can catch them in the afternoon or whatever, but you don't have that magical blast like you can when they've been sort of hungry all day, they're not bothered to move all day, then all of a sudden, you know, they go. And I don't go till 1 p.m, sometimes 2 p.m, because if I'm fishing real local waters, I fish till darkness. And as I say there, the feeding spell may only be an hour or less. Now then, a lot of people fish Neds, and a lot of people use leadhead lures, etc., and they fish the bottom. But I've put a tip on here: don't forget the old MEPS when perch are feeding up in the water, and have a couple of rods made up. I have a rod made up with the norm nowadays with the Ned or the leadhead, which I'm chucking around. But then what happens is if fish start to spray everywhere and they're chasing fish up the water, no good chucking a leadhead, a Ned, fish in the bottom when they're up in the water after little rudd or roach or whatever. So Sean Bigford, and let's face it, Sean's going to know a bit about him. He's got Charlie's Lake and Angel's Lake with some superb monster perching, and he's had a few, and I've had a few up there as well. Had a few late evening perch of late, and that's right, they are. They do. But let me just contradict myself just a little bit, in that I've noticed that if you've got the time to fish all day in a sunny day, and I don't know why it is, and I haven't got an answer for you, for some reason, on those days that not many are feeding and you don't have any big catches, when it's really bright and, you know, all the odds are against you, the times that I've had a big fish that day, unbelievable. There's a water I fish quite locally, and I fish in the afternoon. I fished it regular. I used to fish it 4 to 5 and 6 times a week because it was local and I got permission to fish it, and I used to fish it, and I had a number of threes. I had a number of catches fishing in the afternoon. But then occasionally I used to just go fish it all day and try all day, and that's when I had 2 fours. I had a 4, and a few weeks later I had a 4 again, and that was in days that you'd have thought was a total waste of time and would have been perfect to start at 1 and fish till darkness. But so, like in all angling, you know, there's always that contradiction, and that's the contradiction there today for me. Okay, let's go to a couple of prizes now. We've got the Zero Fit prize, which I've given to Steve Greenaway. He sent in some fantastic perch over the last couple of weeks, and I have to say, I don't think we've ever given, or I can't remember any prizes, Steve, because I've always kept away from it, because Steve's one of my best mates, and I don't want to be seen to be you know, sort of giving him preferential treatment. Well, I am this week. I'm giving him preferential treatment this week because he's had some lovely fish. He deserves to win it. And also, he does some great things for the group. He does some great things for angling. And, you know, a 50 quid zero fit is not much of a thing for the what's name he does for fishing. But I noticed that he got, the other day, he got a pretty tatty sort of undergarment, and I thought, zero fit for Stephen, and so he's got one. There he is in the background cooking the thing at the do, and you know, that's the sort of thing he does. Makes no money off it. It's all put to the profits are all put to charity, and so yeah. Enjoy your zero fit, mate. I've sent it away. You'll get it next week or the week after. You'll certainly get it before Christmas, mate. Keep yourself warm. Cheers, mate. Well done. Okay, where did we go now? Oh, HTO. That is 5. And I've given the one to Oscar Sutcliffe. And I just thought it was a lovely returning fish, really sharp photograph, you know, really classical sort of returning photograph. Beautiful condition pike. He's caught it and he's returned it in just as good as he's caught it. That's the perfect way to show a fish. So you won the lures, Oscar. Well done. Lovely photograph, and one worthy of a. And it's unusual, you know. The captor isn't in it, but you know that doesn't matter. I just thought it was the return of a beautiful pike going back to the same as it when it was hooked. Well done, completely. That's on the way. Okay, the next one is, of course, what is Ambrose cooking today? Quite a simple one today for Ambrose, but he has told me that for the Christmas special on the 19th, Friday the 19th, he's cooking a Christmas special, which should be something special indeed. But today, something simple. Ambrose, what are you cooking tonight?
How are we doing? Just on the Relief channel this morning, fishing the tip, just fishing for anything that comes along. I've just got a size 16 hook on with a couple of red maggots and a ground bait feeder with just some ground bait in and some dead maggots and a bit of sort of chopped corn. But so for just a couple of skimmers and a few small roach. So now time for some breakfast, but it's a very simple one today. So today I've just got a few slices of bread, a small tin of beans, some grated cheese and some butter. So today I am going to have cheese and bean toasties done in my small Ridge Monkey pan and the small Ridge Monkey single gas burner. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some butter on that bread, because what I do, I butter the opposite side of the bread to what I put the beans and cheese in, and that tends to give it a bit more taste and browns it up a little bit better. So I'll butter this bread and we'll get that pan on. Right, I've buttered me bread, but one bit in the pan. I'm going to get some grated cheese on there first. And a simple one today. One other angler down here, looks like a predator angler the other side. I've not seen anybody else this morning. Plenty of cheese in there. These little pans are perfect for this, especially when you don't want to sort of carry too much stuff, because they're just nice and small. Stir these old beans up a bit. So it's always remembering I put the butter side opposite to where I put the beans and cheese. I mean, the best with these little pans is you can just sort of flip them over. Right, we'll give it a few minutes to get done, and we'll get it out. And I've got a flask of tea. I'm not making no tea. I've just brought a small flask of tea with me today, and we'll have a cup of tea and that. And I've just left me rod out because I can see me tip, and hopefully something will come along. Right, we're looking about done now, so I'm going to turn that gas off. Quite warm. And there we go, just a cheese and bean toasty. Very simple, but like, I've got a bit of a walk to the van. I didn't want to bring a lot of stuff today, and when I'm fishing the tip, it's hard to cook sort of a big meal without taking too much time out. And with the dark mornings now, I'm limited on time, so just a simple one but tasty. So once again, thank you very much for watching Tight Lines and Full Bellies. Cheers.
Don't you look comfortable there on the Relief Channel? Wind blowing, umbrella up. At times I've done that on the Relief Channel with a few mates when we were zander fishing many years ago, early 80s on the Relief Channel. It's a soul destroying place, or can be, and certainly a cheese and bean toasty would certainly help you out. That's for sure. We've got fond memories there, Ambrose, that's for sure. And another great video. Thank you, mate. Okay. The last video of the night, I'm going to it ends what's the date today? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll just get the last day out of it if you do it, and that is the special on tonight for Cadence, and I'll just show the Cadence video for the reels. Super buy, and well worth taking advantage of. It'll be sort of the last day now.
Hi Des, got a fantastic new deal for you on our CS5 reels. So we've got two reels in the series. We've got the 3000 and the 4000. And we're going to start this deal at your show on Friday night. And basically we're going to offer a fantastic value, brilliant price. So we're offering two reels for the price of one. Now the retail on these is £70, so basically you're getting two for the price of £70. You can go for two the same size, so you could go for two 4000s or two 3000s, or you could mix it up and have one of each. Basically you're going to have a code that you can share with your followers, and they can order the reels direct from our website, apply the code, and we're going to run this deal until the 4th of December. So a bit of spec on these fantastic reels. Let's have a look at the 3000 first. Both the reels are made with this carbon composite body and rotor, which makes them really light but very strong. You've got an machined aluminium spool, and if you can see on there, there's a rubber band, which is great if you're fishing with braid, to stop the braid from slipping around the spool. I also like it because I took my knot when I tie the line on underneath that band. So you've got a beautiful machined aluminium spool, and incidentally you get a spare spool as well, which is also exactly the same aluminium. You've got a really nice line clip, which we've protected with this plastic back, so you're not going to get the line cutting on the line kit when you use the line clip to fix the distance when you're fishing. You've got a really nice carbon fibre drag, which is very, very smooth, also very, very strong. Now these reels have got a gear ratio of 6.1 to 1, so it's a nice fast retrieve. And you've got 8 plus 1 bearings, so you've got 8 stainless steel bearings and 1 instant anti-reverse bearing. So the reel's absolutely packed with top spec features, makes the reels very, very smooth, very, very powerful. You've got an oversized line roller, and these are our new CS5s, so they're revised. I think they look absolutely fantastic. On the 3000, the capacity on the spool is basically 110 meters of 4-pound line. So I tend to use this reel for float fishing at shorter range with lighter lines, and also feeder fishing, ledger in at closer range. It also makes a fantastic spinning reel as well, light spinning. So that's the 3000 size. Obviously, step up in size is the 4000. You've got all the same features as the 3000. Increased line capacity, so you've got 150 meters of 8-pound line on this one. So for me, this is great for heavier feeder fishing, longer range with the feeder or ledger, and also when I'm fishing with thicker lines and longer rods when I'm float fishing. I didn't mention on both reels you've got this lovely EVA handle knob. Very, very comfortable in all conditions when it's wet and cold. And again, you've got the same gear ratio of 6.1 to 1. All the features packed into these fantastic reels. So there you go, Des. That's a wonderful deal for you and your followers. 2 reels for the price of 1. So you're getting 2 reels for £70. Cheers.
There you go. Thank you, James. As I say, what a fantastic deal. And that's virtually the end of it. You need to get on. But I am told that there's going to be some real special deals on Boxing Day. There always is a Boxing Day sale for Cadence. And there's going to be some very, very special ones for the some of the rods. So looking forward to putting that on here on the page. So look forward to that. Okay, let's go to the questions and answer them. The question of the week this week, which is a chap called Peter Hobson has won it, and he's won a bag of pudding mix in stock now. I wouldn't say you'd wanting to stick a load in this time of year now, certainly with the rivers as high as they are at the moment. But certainly, just remember, it's not just for barbel. You can use it for carp. The thing I would say to you when you're using it in still waters, remember, it's not meant to be dry, because there's a lot of particles that in there that will flake up and raise in the water and even float. It needs to be soaked overnight, and that's why it's called a pudding mix. So I don't think if you start throwing that in, there's going to be quite a bit of it floating, or not a lot of it, but quite a bit floating on the top. But anyway, the question was, and he's asked me to relive one of your great days fishing, and who did you have it with? And to be honest, I think it was the ultimate river day on the float that I had with a chap called Simon Meadows, who'd introduced me to the grayling fishing on this particular stretch, and to relive the day's fishing was, I had 16 grayling, and there was 10 over 2 pounds, and there was 2 over 3 pounds. Now, what did Simon have? Nothing like that, and the reason being is that I went into the first swim, and I had a 3-pounder out of a swim that normally doesn't produce a 3-pounder, and about 3 or 4 twos, if I remember right. I can't remember the exact. And Simon said, crikey, what a start. What I'm going to do is have the pegs as you go along. I fished it. He fished it many times. He said, you could end up with a catch of all catches down here if you fish all the better pegs. So he actually gave me the chance to fish. And, we actually argued. I said, no, do it. Anyway, I went down the stretch and fished all the best pegs. And Simon, I don't think he even fished. I think he just sat behind me and watched it because he knew it was going to be, with that sort of start, he got a chance of a very, very special day. And then, as it was, I had another from a known swim and a known fish. I had another 3-pounder, and I ended up with, as I say, 16. I think it was 16, 17. I think it was 16 grayling, and 10 were over £2. I was just glad to. The last one was hard to get, ain't they always? And he took me down to a bit of water that we hadn't fished before. And I remember having a laugh about it because he said, "Oh, I better take you down to my secret little couple of swims," which he took me down to get the 10th over £2, which I hadn't fished before. And so I had a 3 out of a known swim. So, what a day's fishing, 16 grayling, 10 over 2, including 2 over £3, 8 twos and 2 threes. What a day's fishing. Absolutely unbelievable. And I remember on the way back, we pulled into a pub just outside of Cleobury Morton when we pulled in. And I said, "Come on, mate, we got to have a drink. We got to have a drink." And so we did. We had a couple of pints on and celebrated an incredible catch. And I'll be indebted to Simon for that catch, forever. It was an incredible catch of fish. Yeah, it was a red letter day, Owen, but it was created. I fished well and I fished the pegs, but it was created by a chap. If he'd have fished half the pegs and I'd have fished half the pegs, we'd have ended up around about the same. Probably 8 fish a piece, 7 fish, something like that, 1, 3 a piece, and a few twos. But when they fish all the pegs, that was the end result. An incredible day. So I hope that's satisfied your appetite for one of Desi's better days. Okay, Mark Hotchkiss, all the gear. Now then, this is probably not the answer you were expecting, Mark. All the gear, no idea, rings true with the modern day anglers. Well, Mark, I don't know if it does ring true all the thing, because it's so easy to get carried away that because the older anglers like myself, we started on the canal and we started catching gudgeon, we started catching well, let me tell you something now, Mark. I know a lot of anglers my age that are absolutely very, very, very poor. They might enjoy the sport, but they're very poor anglers. Right? Just because they started catching gudgeon on a float doesn't mean they actually moved that far away from it. Don't mean that from my era and my age we were all expert anglers. We weren't. There's a lot of I've watched blokes my age on the Severn, they're trotting a float and they say, "Des, I remember years ago when we used to catch £2 roach on a chuck." You can see him on the float. You think, you ain't had a £2. You'd have a job catching a pike the way you're trotting down. So, we can all put these, rose-coloured glasses, rose-tinted glasses on about, us, our age group used to be a lot better than now because they've moved into carp fishing or whatever. Let me tell you something now, that, there's always been poor anglers, there's always been medium anglers, and there's always been good anglers. Nothing to do with the modern day, yes, they have got more tattle, yes, they have got more rigs and whatever, but lesser rigs don't make you a good angler, and loads of rigs don't make you a poor angler, that's for sure. It's, don't condemn the modern day anglers, because there are some very good anglers, and just because they didn't start the way we started in the sport doesn't mean that they're like you said, all the gear and no idea. You can't work like that. Probably you'd have liked me to have agreed with you, but not as though that's the question you asked, and it was a very, very good question. So thanks a lot for that, Mark. In fact, you nearly won the question of the week, but the one I couldn't help but mention that absolutely super day's grayling fishing. So okay, Phil Middlemass. he's talking about the strike indicator when trout fishing, and he said, why is there such hatred and ill feeling towards this method? I don't know why. I can't answer that, Martin. Sorry, Phil, because at the end of the day, it's just another method. I remember talking to Richard Francis, and he, all of his fish, or a lot of his fish over the last few years have been stalking. And yet when we went to Elderdine, when we went to the water a bit not stalking conditions, wanted to catch a few fish, and he had to cut, he was going to be there a few hours. What did he do? He fished a snake. Now, some people say, a snake, oh my God, it's like casting a parrot out or whatever. No, at the end of the day, Richard did what he got to do, and he caught and he caught a lot of fish. He caught 14 fish in a couple of hours and then went home, a fantastic catch. And that's the way I look at the indicator. The indicator, you see it, fished in Scotland or Ireland or Canada or whatever for trout, for whatever. And it's a great method. I mean, I used it in Iceland for char. It was fantastic, just chucking it out with a little buzzer underneath. Heavy buzzer underneath and just going down and sinking it. But fantastic. So it's like float fishing. Yes, it is like float, but so what? It's just another method. So I don't know why. I think it's traditionalists getting a bit snobby, and which is not good anyway. And let them be. If they don't like it, well, they ain't got to use it, have they? And that's the same with all fishing. If you don't want to use it and you don't agree with it, then don't try to ban it. Just don't use it. That's the way I look at it. Okay, I noticed Phil Millwood was saying to me earlier, his dad, he's been with his dad all day. I wish him all the best, Phil. I know when we talked earlier in the day or yesterday, you said he was going into hospital. I wish him all the best. He's 96 years of age, so wish him all the best. He's doing well, mate. Okay, so let's talk Bernie King. I was saying, before the first bite alarms, what did I use as bite alarms? Well, to be honest, you probably think I'm a lot older than I am, but ever since I was a kid, there was Heron buzzers. The ones designed by Dick Walker, and we had Heron buzzers. They're a far cry to the Nash and the Delkims and the Fox ones now, but I've always had that kind of. I did, before I could afford one. We did make like ones with contacts on that couldn't come off and ridiculous. But no, Heron buzzers. Crikey, listen to the rain. Wow, absolutely hammering down. Those lads out in the bivvies tonight will have a lot of fun when they're just cooking and making a coffee and listening to that. Absolutely super. I'm jealous. Yeah, yeah, Heron buzzers. They've always been there for me. So, that's what I use, a heron buzzer. And the only thing was, you used to end up with the wires, you'd trip up and whatever. All these ones now you can be, a few yards away, and it comes on, tells you which one's on and whatever. You didn't have that sort of luxury, but they were good enough. I caught a few fish on the herons, that's for sure. Okay, Craig Wildrake. He's asking, what bit of tattle or whatever has been discontinued that you wish was still going? Well, I'll tell you one that really I do wish was going, and that's TG, the tandoori garlic Nash bait. Oh, what a bait that was. It was for barbel, for carp, for everything. It was. I used it as change bait to my Frankfurter, but for barbel, it was absolutely the business. I remember Paul Garner told me that he liked key, and I didn't get on with that. But the TG, tandoori garlic was an absolute fantastic bait, and I wish that was coming back. Towards the end, I think it was so expensive that they couldn't produce it, and you could order, but you've got to order 100 kilos of it or something like that, So, but there you go. I really do wish that was still going. That was tandoori garlic. What a bait! What a bait! They did a crumb as well, and the flavour. I've still got some of the flavour. and occasionally I'll use it and it still catches. Absolutely super bait. So I wish that was something that was discontinued that I'd love to still have. Jamie Fishing Adventures. What would you ban? If you had a chance, what would you ban? I tell you what I'd ban. I'd ban anglers that leave litter. You know, sometimes when I used to come down the river on a canoe, I used to come down, and as I used to come down, you'd see pockets. You know, pockets of, especially certain clubs, there'd be pockets of heaps of rubbish that they threw in. Once somebody had thrown one in a hedge, you know, or you'd see a bin. The worst thing that you could have was a bin that was overflowed, and it give them the right then. You know, anglers come along and go, well, they should have emptied it. I've got nowhere to stick it. No, I'm not taking it home. They just throw it on the ground or throw it on the top of the bin and it falls off, and you think, you know, you're the ones that should be banned. And we say it so often, and it's one of those things that said, anglers are the most caring people in the world. Well, some of us are, and some of us aren't. That's very sure. And it ain't because of the standard of angling. Some of the best, not the best, but certainly very, very good anglers I've seen rip line off and throw it in with shot and hooks on. I've seen them throw rubbish in the side. I've seen them leave a swim with crisp packets, hooked to nylon packets, etc. Good anglers. I mean good anglers. And I think to myself, my life, God almighty, you know, they're the people I'd ban. And if I run a club and, you know, and they did that, they'd be out. You know, as soon as I went in the peg and there was all rubbish around them, they'd be gone, out and finished. A bit like we run this club, run this group, you know, just absolutely, yeah, I mean, like John just said, very well said, Des, not true anglers. No, they're not true anglers. They could be good anglers, they could be successful anglers, but they're not true anglers, that's for sure. They're not caring anglers, they're not true anglers, they're just ruthless anglers that don't give a shite about wildlife, don't give a shite about the countryside. All they want to do is catch a few fish. You know, that disgrace. But yeah, they're the ones I'd ban. The next one is Tracy Jensen, and she's saying, where's the best place you've caught fish? Well, I've been lucky over the years, Tracy, to fish some incredible spots. But I think overall, it was probably the Yukon, because Yukon's one of the last frontiers. There's hardly anybody lives up there. You know, you go into your waters on a float plane, which was the first time I'd been on float planes, which was exciting in itself. And I've got here, you know, grizzly bears, moose, float planes, no people. And great fishing with lake trout. Lake trout so big that they eat the pike. You know, 50 and 60, 70 pound trout that are known to eat the northern pike, the smaller northern pike, which is an incredible, you know, it's a reverse of predators, isn't it? Instead of the pike hurling around eating the trout are eating the pike, which, you know, is another story, isn't it? But yeah, I would think not only just the fishing, you know, nature-wise, the adventure-wise, you know, it was a very, very, very special country. The weather was fantastic. The scenery was incredible. It was clean. You know, there was good food, clean, nice food. We stayed in a nice place, a nice cabin. So yeah, it was just one of those fantastic holidays. So yes. The last question is Peter Hobbs, and he said, do I rate coloured sweet corn better than the standard yellow? No, I don't. Not really. I have tried red and I've tried black and especially plastic, but no, I've never had any more success on coloured compared to the yellow. The one thing I would say is that if I was using it in a particle, that you know, you got to be very careful. Sometimes corn can scare fish off. I've seen barbel spook off it. I've seen, you know, sort of on the team when you put a particle in, there's some corn in, they come in and woof, they spook off the yellow. It's very bright. It's either something they come and nail it, or they come and go whoa. You know, especially if they've been caught before on it. And I've seen carp spook off it as well. So, you know, if it was that, I'd use a darker colour. But I probably wouldn't, because if they're spooking off the corn, then I wouldn't use it. But no, I've never had any more success on coloured. I've not given it much of a try, really. You know, it's either yellow corn for me or that's it. Hope that's answered your question. Okay, last two prizes of the night, which we got Willie Worms Boilies, and the winner for that is, I've give it to, actually, with the one that we just asked that question. Tracy was down there, Tracy Jensen, with a daughter. I didn't quite catch a daughter's name, but lovely people. And they were very, very kind with their remarks to me, and they were very, very friendly people and enjoyed the fishing. And that's why I've given the Willie Worms baits. It's a lovely photo. They sent me the photo. They sent it into Facebook, and I thought it was a great photo. It was typical of the show. As I've said to people before, just come up, ask questions, talk about it, and it was lovely. And that's how it turned out. It was a lovely spell with Tracy and her daughter. Thanks for the photo. Thanks for the good times, mate. Thank you. Lovely. And the last prize, which is the Dinsmore prize, which is the spiral points. Lovely fish caught by, it's got a nickname, Bijon Ironside, but he sent his acceptance of the prize because from Sam Taylor, and he's fishing the Warwickshire Avon. He's caught some beautiful chub and some beautiful big barbel. So well done, Sam. You know, you got all photos. You're not holding them up. You're obviously taking them a quick photograph on your net or on your mat, and some lovely fish. There was quite a few 3s, 4s, 5s, and I think one was just on 6. The chub, and then I think there were two a 14 and a 15, or 2 15-pound barbel, which is fantastic. Certainly bigger than I've ever had off the Avon. So well done, and enjoy your spiral points. As Ambrose talked about them the other day, you know, if you've got a hard ground, then they're as good as you get, mate. So well done, and that's the end of the show this week. I've heard nobody moan about the reception, so we seem to have sorted that out this week. So there's a show next week. In fact, there should be a show right up every week, right up to Christmas. There obviously won't be one on the 26th, but I think the last one is the Christmas show, which is the 19th. And then the week after, then we'll do the first one in January. Perhaps talk about our expectations and what we're planning to fish for. That would be interesting for various people to write up and say what they're going to be fishing for. But I hope you've enjoyed the show, and Mike Eagles, cracking show as always. Yeah, Mike, you're ever so nice to me on the show, and yet every time I speak to you on the phone, you insult me, you call me horrible names, and you're awful to me, and yet you're nice on this show. You know, there's 2 things I've always liked about you, Mike. Your face, both of them. No, love the bloke. What a good friend, Mike. A good friend to anyone that is in the group, and we always have a laugh. And I always say to people, and it's a black country thing, that if a black country man takes the mickey out of you, then that's a term of endearment, and it means he likes you. If you don't take the mickey and you don't say anything untoward, then I say that actually Phil's just come on, Phil Millwood, and I said to Phil, you know why I always take the mickey out of you? It's because I love you to bits, and that's the truth. So there you go. It's been a great show for me. If you've enjoyed it, then good. I've enjoyed tonight. I really have. I've enjoyed the fishing. I enjoyed the show last week. It's been a good week. And let's hope we have more weeks like it. You watch how you go, lads. Enjoy. Send your photos up. You never know, you could win a nice prize. And remember, I want some suggestions. What are we going to do with Mohammed's 2 books? We've got a very, very good version of an old version worth maybe £300, £400, 500. Isaac Walton's The Complete Angler, and we've got the Pike, the one worth about £60 or £70. So we could potentially have £300, £400, £500, £600, £700, and I don't want to waste it. What we need, we need to turn that into money and make somebody's either Christmas or just after Christmas or whatever. I don't know, but I'm sure you'll help me, and I'm sure we'll come out with a good thing in the end. Watch how you go.